Hello and welcome to another episode of Creative Appetite. Today I'm joined by my good friend Dion. Oh, I'm so excited. So Dion is a entrepreneur, businessman, creative, and currently is the owner / curator of the Masterverse, which is an online platform which allows people to better themselves either through business, personal development, or even just something as small as getting a morning routine and getting yourself motivated to get through the week. Oh, I don't know. There's so much we could talk about, so I'm just gonna let you introduce yourself maybe a little bit more and elaborate on that.
Beautiful, man. Well, thanks for having me. You explained the Masterverse pretty well. It's an online mastermind pretty much. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. I don't know where you really want me to start, but I've done a lot of different businesses. I've been in business since I left school when I was 17. And I've had a lot of failed businesses to sort of get to where I am now. And it's been a wild ride and a wild journey, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I was one of the worst employees. It was just like I'd get a job and then they'd just crack the shits with you or they'd fire you because I was never really good at getting told what to do. Not that I was really a bad employee. It was just I found it hard getting told what to do, when to start, what to wear, when to eat, when I could go to the toilet, and then started realizing really quickly that you might notice it yourself. It's like you start living your life in accordance to your income, right? And when I became a father, I think just everything changed. I realized I'm like, man, I don't want to raise my kids this way. And like, obviously there's nothing wrong with like having a job or anything, but I was just in a position where as I always believed that you need to follow your dreams, and I wanted to inspire my kids to do the same. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that, like, even for me, like how I started all last year, I didn't do anything, and I had this podcast idea, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then like life happens. You get it, like I had girlfriend dramas and all that weird shit, like jobs that you didn't like, and then I literally started coming to your mastermind class on Tuesday with Geordie. He's like, bro, you got to come. I was like, righto, and then within 5 weeks, I had 2 episodes out. I like met so many amazing people. It just happened. Everything was just like bang, 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 bang. And I was like,
That's
man,
awesome, man.
it's so crazy to see how fast it can happen just off nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so excited to get you on, because I've been saying this in the last couple of episodes, and I'm assuming people have no idea who I'm talking about, because I'm like, this guy, like this, that, rah, rah. So I was so excited to get you on. But
I didn't know you started it through the masterminds. That's really cool.
So I had the idea about 12 months ago, and it's to bring like creative people through all aspects of the creative world, because a lot of people think that it's stereotyped into one, like, I don't know, art, music, whatever, but I think it's through everything, because like creating an app like you have, like the Masterverse, that's still creativity. Like you still have to use your brain to create, like design it how you want it to be designed. Like that's all creativity, and I think that gets put to the wayside a little bit. Yeah. So I definitely think that this is the perfect episode for people that are like you, who are business-driven entrepreneurs, who are using their creative mind to just know that you are creative, because I feel like a lot of them put themselves down. They're like, oh, I'm just not creative. It's like, you're still creative. You're just not making music and going down that avenue. You're not like the stereotypical style of creativity.
100%, man, 100%. And I like how you said that, because I didn't even know you started the podcast through the Mastermind, which is really cool. But that's obviously a non-for-profit we've been running for quite a while, and it starts up again next month, which everyone will find out about shortly. But the things you say is like, man, there's like so many people, like they're just sort of wandering through life, and they always know they've got a little bit more in the tank. They always know that there's some sort of deeper meaning in life. But most of us, like, you know, you're raised to conform. You're raised to do what you're told. You're told what you're good at, what you're bad at. And then all of a sudden you come out of school, you're put into a box, right? And the thing is like so many people, like, I love how you say creative, because to be honest, like my biggest mentors, my biggest gurus are my kids. Like I've got Xander, he's 4. I've got Malibu, she's just turned 1. And I learned so much from them, man. It's like, it's almost it's been raining for the last 3 months straight, right? And it's funny, like Xander will come up into the bedroom in the morning, and he'll literally go up and he'll open up the curtains and look outside, and it could be pissing down rain. And he'll be like, oh, Dad, it's another beautiful day. You know, and it's just like the purity of a child. And it's like you'll go outside and they'll just pick up a stick or a rock and they'll like play in the water. But us adults will go out and we'll dodge the puddles and be worried that it's messing up our hair. And it's like we're missing all the simple things of life, which comes from that creative mind, you know, that flow state, that state of mind. Whereas like You can just do, you can just be in the moment. And that's where like everything happens, right? Like everything comes from those moments in time where it's like everything is still. It gets your brain time to sort of just stop and think for that one moment. And it's like, that's why they say a lot of people get the ideas, like these crazy ideas in their dreams or in the shower. Because it's that one time of day where they allow their mind to be still. And yeah, man, the fact that you're talking about creative, I think it's so important because everybody has a creative side to them. It's just they either haven't had the courage to look deep enough for what it is they really want to do in life because of fear. Everybody's got that fear of failure. And the way I talk to people and coach people through that, it's like, I'm like, cool. It's like, let's pretend we're sitting in a room right now, okay? There's person X, Y, and Z. Now let's pretend person X thinks you are a Greek god. Does that make you a Greek god? No. Like, they can think you're a Greek god as much as you want, but you're not a Greek god. All right. Person Y thinks you are a loser. You are a failure, okay? Does that make you a loser or a failure? No. But most of us perceive that and we start acting like that because we're worried about other people's judgments. And to get my point across, it's like, let's pretend person Z thinks you're a pink flamingo. Does that make you a pink flamingo, Jesse?
No.
No. Exactly. But people are so fearful of other people's judgments because of their hierarchy of like their perceived value of who they are in this world that they don't take action on their dreams and goals, you know? They're so scared that if they do fail, they will be deemed a failure. And it's funny because I remember when like I was raised in a family whereas like one side was very education based and the other side was entrepreneurial. Okay, so our opa, we're Dutch, and he was a famous Australian inventor, and he's like a lot of things that people use in everyday stuff right now. He invented a lot of these incredible things, and my brother's got a very similar mind. Okay, and what happened is when we left school is like it was just battered into us from one side of the family, like if you don't get a trade, if you don't go to uni, if you don't go to the army, you are deemed a failure. You know, like, and it was like, I was so worried to leave school, you know, because I was like, far out, like, I don't want to do any of this. I want to go and do something that lights me up, you know, where you wake up in the morning and just like, you're electric. It's like, you don't get tired. You just want to keep going, right? And I remember I started a business with a mate. We just left high school. We drove down to Gold Coast and we bought a VIP Lawns and Gardens franchise. And we're both 18 years old and we'd sunk $100,000 into this thing, borrowed money, mind you. And 12 months later, like we'd literally sunk the business. We just didn't know what we were doing. And it's why I'm so obsessed now with helping people start businesses, because the problem is everybody thinks you need to become an entrepreneur to be successful, but they're missing something. Becoming an entrepreneur is just a word, and it's the first step of curiosity of starting something meaningful. But the problem is most people fail because they don't take the step from an entrepreneur to a business owner. Okay, so anybody can start something, but the thing is that to step into a business owner is the next thing, right? But not so many people don't do it. But anyway, it's like that business failed. So my dad was high up in a mining company, so he got me a job in the mines with my brother. And I did that for about 4 or so years and that sort of thing. And it was good money. Like we were earning like a couple of $100,000 a year as like a 20-year-old kid. Like it was a lot of money at the time.
So much.
And I'm like I was just burning it on like Maloo utes and clothes and just stupid stuff. And I still do burn money on cars. But it's like it was just like a couple of years went by and then I got engaged and all this sort of stuff. And what happened is I thought I was living the dream, right? And like at the time, like that was the perceived dream. Like if you got into the mines, it was like you had made it. And I remember this day I was flying back and it was a 3-in-1 roster. So you worked 3 weeks straight and 1 week off. And I was flying out, sitting at the airport, and it was mainly guys that worked out there. And I was looking around and they all looked so depressed. And I went up to my mate Jimmy at the time. I'm like, brother, like what's going on? Like I used to get excited going, because it was almost like a boys trip each time, because I was just young. I didn't have a family or anything yet. And he goes, brother, you just don't get it, man. He goes like, I'm a dad once a month. And I was like, wow. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. So it started getting me curious. And what happened, I started seeing all of these guys in their 40s and 50s and 60s in the mines. And every single person I talked to out there, I'm like, so what's your goal? Like, why are you out here? I was starting to get curious about goals and success and all this sort of stuff. And they all said the same thing, like, you know what, I'm just going to stick it out here for 5 or so years, pay off the house, go home, live happily ever after with the family. And the thing is, man, like every single one of them was upgrading their house, getting a new car, and they could never even afford to go home even if they wanted to. In the meantime, it's like their wives were naturally seeking love from other people because they were trying to raise kids as a single mom and all this sort of stuff. And like, I was just like, far out, like there has to be more. Like there has to be something else. I was like, far out, what am I going to do? And at the time I was a semi-professional bodybuilder. You may not see it now, but I was a semi-professional bodybuilder. Yeah. Like I lived and breathed bodybuilding. And what happened, we're working like 10 to 12 hours a day in the mines each day. But when you were bodybuilding, it was my life. Like literally it was like, I remember on my week off when I went home, if I wanted to hang out with my brother or a friend or something, I'd have to go, great, like how long are we hanging out for? I'd be like, 3 hours. I'd have to pack the right amount of meals and that sort of thing. Like it took over your life. But what happened is it taught me some things, because when you're out at the mines, it's like you go and eat at what's called a mess camp, and they didn't have standard food for bodybuilders. Like it was just like stuff they'd whip together and that sort of still good food, like but I couldn't have it. Yeah,
same thing.
And so I had to cook everything in my donga. So I'd take a rice cooker there, I'd heat up my meat in the thing, I'd have tuna. It was horrible. So I'd be working 10 hours, but I had to train 3 times a day. I'd have to do cardio and then weights and cardio at night to get into these extreme shapes that we're doing on stage. And what happened is when you're waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning to go and do your cardio and then a 12-hour day at work, is like, you don't want to do it. And you wake up and it's like you go to bed, one person, I can't wait to get up. I'm so motivated. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to dominate the day. I'm going to get up and do cardio. That alarm goes off in the morning. It's like somebody else wakes up. You're like, F that. Like, I do not want to get up in the morning. So I needed something to motivate me. And back then, this would have been back in 2012. I'm sure my age now. 2012. And I remember there was an app like Spotify, but it was called 8 Tracks. And the way you search music was through hashtags. I was like, I need motivation. So I just searched the hashtag motivation. Then all of a sudden I started hearing these like guys talking to me in my head, like from searching motivation, like Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown, like Bob Proctor, bless him, just passed away. But like I started hearing these motivational speakers and talking about success. And I was like, wow, like I'd never heard about this stuff before called personal development. I started like falling in love with it. I was like, wow. And they started talking about vision boards and this sort of stuff. So what happened is there was this guy that I aspired to be, this bodybuilder, and I had a photo of him. So I set it as my background. As gay as it sounds, like I had this picture of a guy on my background. And I was like, cool, I'm going to look at him every single day and it's going to motivate me when I'm feeling down. And what happened is 12 months later, I won like the Aussie titles in the bodybuilding. And I'd got literally the exact body that I had pictured of that I wanted. I was like, wow, like I focused on that result so much and I dedicated my time, my efforts and sacrificed so much and I achieved it. I was like, what if I could do that in business, you know? And then it started my sort of business journey from there. But it was like my first business, I started an online supplements and clothing. Like I'm looking around here, I can see some like a clothing brand. And I started a clothing brand called Muscle Empire. And what happened is we launched this clothing brand, myself and my fiance at the time. And it started doing okay. We had a local Australian supplier and that sort of thing. And when I started like learning more and more about business, I started learning about like cutting costs and raising your profit margins, that sort of stuff. And the only way we could do it was if we got our products made from an overseas supplier. So we went to Pakistan and we had all these like clothes, the samples were sent over and they were mint, like it was perfect. So we went ahead with this supplier and I dumped like 20 or 30 grand into it, I think maybe 25 grand into these products. And they rocked up to our house. So like a container of products, like these boxes rocked up to our house. And it was all faulty. Like the wrong size labels, the logos were in the wrong positions. And I was like, what are we going to, I just spent 25 grand. And the supplier just disappeared. So I lost 25 grand. And I was like, at the time it was a fair bit of money for me. And I was like, far out, like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to get out of the mines. And what happened is I saw one of my good friends doing well in Herbalife, network marketing. And I was like, oh, like, I want to get involved in one of those pyramid scheme things. But I was like, I'm not going to do Herbalife because that's what he's doing. So I was basically randomly, I just put it out there and this random dude messaged me on Facebook and he's like, hey, bro, I worked for this supplement company called Your Health. And he goes, all you got to do, man, is sell supplements and you can make $1 million like my mate here that drives a Ferrari. I was like, sign me up. And he goes, the only thing is like, you've got to stop using the supplements you've got now and promote these ones. I'm like, mate, like I get paid to take these supplements. So I was sponsored through bodybuilding. Like, why am I going to pay to take some stuff? He goes, bro, there's a 30-day money back guarantee. Just give them a go. And I was like, you know what? Like I'm someone that's like, I liked proving people wrong at the time. And I was like, cool, I'll give him a shot. And I committed myself to go all in on this business and these supplements for 30 days. And just to literally want to go, look, mate, I told you so. These are no good. Like, give me my money back. And to the end of the 30 days, I hit like a rank in the company pretty quickly, and then decided to commit to it. And 3 months later, replaced my mining income with this network marketing company. And that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That is a wild story.
Yeah, but that's just the start.
I just think like this is what I find so fascinating about that is that it's so getting back to what I was saying before about like this stereotypical creative, like someone like me is like photography, acting, music, all that type of shit. So everyone's like, oh yeah, like that's creative. But if you go back, like if you think about your mind, or like for anyone listening, how your mind's working, it's like business opportunity, but in a creative way. You're like thinking of the next creative way to make yourself money or to make your next big move. And like, I think that's so important and needs to be spoken about, because
100%.
My whole life I've grown up, and same thing, like all these business people are like, oh, I'm not creative, I'm just really business driven, blah, 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 all that shit. I'm like, yeah, but you are creative. Like, it is creativity. It's not just this. And it's like exactly what you've just said is the form of creativity. And that creativity has now taken you to where you are now with the Masterverse. And like all those things that you've had happen within your life has led you to this, if that makes sense. So like your brain subconsciously has taken all those things, and I'm sure it's now all been applied to your Masterverse and the way you set 100%. It up, the way you connect with people, how you present yourself. Like, I'm sure if I met you 20 years ago, it would be a different story. You probably wouldn't be the same person.
Yeah, you wouldn't have liked me. I was pretty egotistic.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these different things that, like, break that down.
Yeah.
And I think you're, like, the poster boy for what I'm trying to show, just because, like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, just because of and what you're trying to show and achieve for other people is amazing. It's like, for me, who wants to do well with this podcast, I'm learning things about business, and I'm learning how to be more organized, like with morning routines and stuff like that. And I think it's so important, especially for anyone.
100%.
So I also want to just get back to like maybe some of your other business ventures just before you hit Masterverse. Like, so what were you doing just before that?
So I got involved in network marketing and did reasonably well with that for about 4 years. And by this stage I was about 25, but I was dead set. I was a workaholic. Like, all I did was just like, I was obsessed with success, but a very superficial way. I just wanted a lot of money. I wanted a flash car. I wanted a mansion in Budrum. I wanted all this stuff. And it was so superficial. And what happened is we'd done reasonably well with the network marketing, but it wasn't enough to create this lifestyle I wanted. So I did some casual work on the side. And what happened was I was just so obsessed with like making it work. And then what happened is I'd committed myself, and I'd lost a lot of friends along the way and that sort of thing, because I was just so committed to just like mastering my craft at the time. And what happened is a brand new year ticked over. I'm not sure what year. I think it was maybe 2013 or I don't know. It was when I was about 25. So yeah, maybe 2016 ticked over, and all of a sudden is my partner woke up, and she basically, like, she was just acting really weird. And I was like, I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I'm done. Like, I'm bored. And I was like, oh, like, okay, so that's it. And like, that was it. So like a 4 or so year relationship just went out the window, and I basically committed myself to the relationship and the business at the time. And it was a massive wake up call for me, because I had 2 decisions then. And the decision was to throw the towel in and just like quit and get back to my old ways, or actually do something with my life. And I chose the wrong decision. Like, I'd been a workaholic for so long. I justified to like, cool, I'm just going to take a month off and I'm going to get loose with the boys. I had enough money in the bank and that sort of thing. And I took a month off to just get loose with the boys and just clear myself, you know? And that 1 month turned into 6. And then before you know it, I'd looked in my bank account and I had $1,800 left. And I was like, what am I going to do? So the house I was renting in Budrum at the time, it was this big mansion. I lost that. And it got to the stage where I was couch surfing, and there was a point in my life where I was living and sleeping in the back of my BMW X5, which I was over leveraged and financed on. And I was down at Point Cartwright. There's like a little boat ramp there, and it was like a private boat ramp and that sort of thing. And it was me and my black German Shepherd Brax just sleeping in the back of this BMW. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then the next step was like my car got repossessed, so I literally had nothing except my dog. And I was like, what am I gonna do with my life? I was like, cool, I could get back into network markets. I know what it is I want to do, but I want to start a gym. Like, I love fitness. I want to help people. I want to start a gym. And I wanted to start a gym. So I went to the bank. I'm like, cool. So I had no money left. I'm like, cool, I need a loan to start this gym. I need 50 grand. Like, can you guys give me a loan and I'll pay it back in a few months? And they're like, no. I'm like, why? They're like, oh, you don't have a job. I'm like, but I can make this business work. They're like, we don't care. So it was a massive hit to my ego, and it forced me to self-reflect. And I'm like, what have I done? Like, if I could take full ownership of where I am right now instead of going, poor me, like, if I could reflect on my life, like, what is it I have done wrong? Like, what's got me to this situation? Because I quickly learned that, like, energy, like, people can do whatever they want with their life. But the thing is, like, if you do bad things, or if you're a bad person, the universe, the Lord, whatever it is that you believe in is keeping count, and it will come back to haunt you at some stage, you know? 100%. It will come back. Like, I'm not saying I believe in karma, but I do believe in energy, and energy never disappears. It only moves. And I'm like, this is here to teach me something. Like, what is it that's teaching me? Like, what is it I have got to learn in this? And I reflected, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was this guy. I was that typical guy you see on Instagram, or that typical guy you see at a festival that was like worried about how shredded he was and how good he looked with his tattoos and his short shorts, and just thought I was like, honestly, I thought I was better than people.
Stereosonic.
I was the typical guy. And I was like, but I was a douchebag. I was that guy that, like, I wasn't the guy I'm now. Like, if you walked up to me in the gym and you said hello to me, I'd sort of look you up and down, and I'd go back to do my stuff. I was a douchebag. And I was like, wow. I was like, you know what? Like, I deserve everything I'm getting right now, because I've probably treated quite a few people wrong in my life, you know? And I'm like, cool. It's like, how can I fix this? And the biggest hit to my ego is like, I had to go back and get a job. Like, I'd been this entrepreneur that quit the mines and was driving around this fancy BMW and had this good body and this, like, the dream life. And I was like, I was just a douchebag, you know? And I had to go back and get a job. And I was like, the whole world's going to know about this. So I went and got a job. I went and worked at UE Insurance. And I worked at UE for 12 months. I had to work there for just over 12 months to get a finance for the gyms. And then, what happened is I quit the gyms. I got some money. I quit UE, got some money to get it, and I opened up the PLC gyms here on the Sunshine Coast. And we expanded pretty quickly. We went from one gym to 2 gyms within 2 months, and then we went from 3 and went partners with another team, and we opened up 3 gyms on the Sunshine Coast. And they were going bonkers, but I quickly realized what I mentioned before. It was like, I was just an entrepreneur then. Like, I was just having a crack, just winging it, so to say. Like, I didn't know proper business. I didn't know how to run it like a business. I was just an entrepreneur having a crack. And the thing is like, really quickly, I started noticing I was running the gyms the wrong way, and I literally had to put one of them into liquidation. Like, almost lost it all again. And I was like, far out. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what is I'm doing wrong? And the thing is I wasn't investing into myself. You know, I wasn't investing into myself, and I couldn't really afford it. Like, there was this course I remember I wanted to do, and I think it was only like $1,800 or $1,700, and like, I couldn't even afford to do that. Or it wasn't the fact that I couldn't afford it. I couldn't justify paying $1,700 to pay a guy to teach me what to do. I wasn't used to investing into myself. And then from there, I was like, cool. It's time for me to level up. And what does every other successful person do? They invest in themselves. So I started investing into myself and started spending literally tens of thousands of dollars into personal development, like getting mentors. And I've still got a mentor to this day. I've got 2 mentors. And there was one year I spent over like $60,000 in a year in mentorships.
Wow, that's so crazy.
You know, which has helped me with a lot of things I'm doing now. And then what happened is the gyms became a franchise, and they sort of started going like I love PLC. I'll never speak bad of them or anything like that, but they started going in a direction that I didn't sort of like, it wasn't fitting with me anymore. So I was like, cool, it's time to move on. And I transitioned out of the gyms. And this was during COVID, because what happened is myself, my beautiful fiance now, Sim, and Zandy.
Legends, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out.
We had this beautiful apartment in Alex. and we had these beautiful views over the mountains. And I was sitting on the balcony because what happened is we were down to like 2 gyms then from the 3, and COVID hit. And what happened, we had 3 hours notice that we had to shut the gyms down. And I calculated by the end of the first week, I was going to be like tens of thousands of dollars in the red because I had staff. Like at the time, I had over 10 staff. And the government like was basically saying, it's like, cool, like you've got to keep paying your staff. You've got to keep paying your rent and bills and everything. Because I was like, cool, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to keep them on board and I'll make it happen somehow. And what had happened, as I expressed earlier on, is like I was a workaholic. And what happened again is I was sitting on my balcony, and I was just looking out over at the mountains, like the hinterlands or whatever you call them. I was looking out over there. I was sitting down with Sam, and then she went inside, and I was just looking at this beautiful sunset. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, wow, that sunset is just beautiful. I'm like, is that there every single day? And I was like, of course it is, you idiot. Like, but you're a workaholic again. You didn't even notice it. I thought I was the best father, the best partner. Don't get me wrong, I was okay. But I was like, you could be so much better. But you're working, like I'd been, for the last 3 years running these, I was doing 16 plus hours a day, every single day, almost 7 days a week. And I was like, far out. It's like, man, it's like you're turning into someone you don't want to be again. And the thing is, the person I was getting mentored by at the time building the gyms is I looked at his life and he was living a very similar life to me. And that light bulb went off again, like I was like when I did the bodybuilding. I saw that person, I copied what they did, and I got a similar result. I'd been copying this guy who I thought had a successful life, and I'd had the same life as him. I was a workaholic, had no friends. I had my dog and my partner. That was about it. And I looked at his life and I was like, wow, it's very similar to his. You know, I was earning this money, but I was like, I didn't have much of a lifestyle. So in that moment, I said to myself, I'm going to sell the gym, and even if I sell it at a loss, I'm just going to get out. And 2 days later, I had this guy message me going, hey, mate, do you want to sell your gym? I was like, yeah. And another thing, it was another smash to my ego because I was going to lose money by selling this gym, you know, but I was like, my gut just said, just get out, just do it. So I walked away, and then I had a bit of time to just sort of think about what I wanted to do. And during COVID, what happened is like I had to keep the gyms alive, well, the gym, the main one. And my brother had been quite successful in his business. He's done very well with his online business. And straight away I went to him. I'm like, Bryce, like I need a loan. Like, can you give me a loan to keep the gym alive? He goes, brother, you know I don't lend money, but I'll teach you how to make some money during COVID if you want. So he said, cool. He's like, do this course. And it was a course, a drop shipping course. And I literally, you can ask him this, I stayed up for 3 days straight without sleep. I did this course from start to finish, applied everything I was doing in it, and started printing like $1,700 a day to keep the gyms alive during this course.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, wow, like I'm making more money. Like these gyms, like people like see like people have got such a misconception of entrepreneurship and being a business owner. And they just think because you've got a nice car and that sort of stuff that you've bought through the business owns these sorts of things. They think you're successful. It's like those gyms, I was paying my staff more than me. Like on paper, like the banks and stuff loved you. Like they see the valuation of the gym and how much the gym's making. It's like I was paying myself $700 a week just to keep this. I was reinvesting everything back into the businesses.
It all goes back
through. Everything, every cent. And people have got this perceived thing of like thinking like, yeah, like just because you own a business, you're successful. It's far from it, you know. It's like I was reinvesting everything. I was living off $700 a week. That's how much I was reinvesting into the gym. But where was I with this? Basically, it was like I needed to keep these gyms alive. But what happened is it opened up my eyes to how vulnerable traditional business is. And if you don't pivot and evolve, you're going to be left behind. And I was like, wow. I was like, I don't want to be in these gyms anymore. I was like, if I can make this much money online. So I had a taste of money you could make from your laptop, you know. And it wasn't necessarily easy, but I saw what was possible. And I was like, great, like I'm going to sell the gyms. And what happened is I was like, cool, like now what am I going to do with these gyms? So I started doing some like online one-on-one mentoring with people and that sort of thing. Like Steve was one of my clients. That's how Steve came about. And I started doing some one-on-one mentoring and that sort of stuff, like Tony Robbins sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was going well, but what started happening is I started becoming very emotional. I was like, what's going on? It's because the only way I could solve these people's problems was I literally had to visualize what they were going through, live in their pain, and then come up with a solution. And I was getting these clients incredible results. And I was like, but it was coming at a cost to me because I was taking on all of their energy, thinking about what they were going through, living there in my mind to come up with solutions. And I was like, cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to double my prices just so that I don't get too many more clients. And then more clients kept coming. I'm like, cool, I'm going to double my prices again so I don't get any more. And more clients kept coming. I was like, far out, this isn't working. I need something different. And then I read this book called $1 Trillion Coach. And it's a book about Bill Campbell. And basically, it's like you look at these people like the CEO of Amazon, Google, Intuit, and one of the other big companies that he mentored. I'm not sure, but he basically is like Apple, Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, is that all of these CEOs came out when this guy named Bill Campbell passed away, and they said, like, we owe our success to this coach. This coach, like, coached us how to be a CEO. And then I read this book. I'm like, wow, nobody's doing this. And I see a lot of CEOs struggling. I'm like, oh, I'm going to become a business coach. So I started doing that. And I started doing that, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. And it was same thing. It was like I was making great money doing it, like really good money. And I was like, it just wasn't sitting. I was like, something's not right here. And then I started looking into different avenues. I started looking into crypto because what happened, my brother invested a whole lot into crypto. He's like, cool. He's like, let's invest basically we're going to put a whole lot of money into crypto. And this was back when Bitcoin was about $9,000.
Was this like right before the boom?
This was in March 2019 when COVID hit, where Bitcoin plummeted to like $3,000. My brother's like, cool, I'm going to dump $100,000 US into it. Like, do you want to put in some money with me? I'm like, bro, you know what? I think I own some Bitcoin. He goes, what do you mean? I'm like, well, back in our bodybuilding days, you had to buy some pretty wacky supplements to do the things we did, to say the least. And we had to buy them on the black market. And the only way you could buy it, this was back in 2013, when Bitcoin was worth like $300.
I think some people forget. Like, some people forget that Bitcoin was actually designed for the dark web.
Yeah.
And, like, using it as a currency to trade without, like, any trace.
Yeah.
And now everyone's, like, all the people that are jumping on now, they're like, oh, this crypto is like, mate, this has been around for a very long time.
Yeah, man. Well, at the time, I was like, you know what, bro? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I own Bitcoin somewhere, like a whole lot of Bitcoin.
Oh, it's so crazy.
And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I used to, like, buy my bodybuilding subs with Bitcoin. He goes, we got to find it. So I found my Bitcoin wallet, and I bought Bitcoin when it was like $300 or something. And at this stage, it was back up to like 9,000 US. So I was like, wow, like there's a lot of money in here.
How many coins did you end up having?
It was only like 3 coins or something.
That's still like,
yeah, but it gets better. And I'm like, great. I'm going to research the sleeping coins, like the coins that like everybody's slamming and the world's against, because wherever there's the most pessimism or the most negativity or the most scarcity, whatever it may be, is like, that's where like the world works in perfect duality. Like there's no good without bad, no positive without negative, no dark without light. Like there's an opposite to it. You've got to be in that position to claim that opposite, which is opportunity. And I started researching this coin called Ripple or XRP, which has got like everyone's slamming. It's still going through a court case to this day. And at the time, it was like 14 cents. So I dumped like tens of thousands of dollars into this coin. And what happened? It shot up to like $2. So we started making hundreds of thousands of dollars each month. And I was like, wow, like...
That's so crazy.
And I started getting into that and researching it. And then we started diversifying and reducing our risk and got a bit more safer with it. So I started looking into NFTs and all that sort of stuff and started doing reasonably well with crypto. But same thing is like, what happened? I started making all this money on crypto. And I realized really quickly that the success I wanted back all those years ago, that materialistic success, wasn't making me happy. So I went and bought a brand new M3 competition, all this sort of stuff. And I was so unhappy.
Yeah, it seems to be like the running narrative with this whole story that you're telling. Is like that money, it doesn't matter how much money comes and goes. It's not the end goal.
It
like
only enhances.
It enhances, but it doesn't make you ultimately happy. It obviously provides you opportunities, but from what you're telling me is that through all these opportunities, you don't have trouble making money. The trouble that you're finding is finding pure happiness within yourself to then live the life that you want to live.
Yep. And it wasn't only that. It's like they said, like that you talk to the wealthy people, they said it's not about how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. And I'd make all this money and I'd lose it all again. I'd make all this money and I'd lose it again because I had such a bad relationship with money. I'd get it and I'd spend it. So I started learning really quickly that like money's important and I love money, but I was using the tool incorrectly. I was using it to fill voids and holes. But now I've learned to use money to serve and help other people. And what happened is same thing as I was doing this business mentoring and I launched the Mastermind against the Mastermind's been on and off for about 5 years. And most of the biggest relationships I've formed has been from my network with the Mastermind. And last year the Mastermind was booming. Like we were getting like 80 to 100 people every single week. Like you witnessed it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it was going bonkers. But like I'm running that as a non-profit. Like I invest on average between $250 to $400 a week out of my own pocket to keep that thing alive because I just love
the space and
people don't see it. Like people just assume, oh, there's 100 people in this room. He must be making this. No. This thing's losing money. But I had it set up in a way so that I could help meet great people and help people succeed. And what I started noticing really quickly is people had the same problems as I did. They were either scared or they weren't willing to invest thousands or tens of thousands of dollars into personal development. And I was like, there's a gap in the market. I'm like, how can I help people invest in themselves, but at a price that anybody can afford? Because I believe everybody's got a purpose. Like, how can I create something that can help everybody master all areas of their life and business? So the Masterverse came about, that idea. And that's why I launched the Masterverse. But here's the catch, is at the time I was making a lot of money each month with my consulting business. And the thing was, to only make the Masterverse work is I had to go all in. So I literally dropped an income that was paying me passively 30 to 40 grand a month to now zero to launch the Masterverse. And I launched the Masterverse the week before Christmas and it was a flop. And I was like, far out, like what am I going to do? And I just kept on going back to it. Like, if this was my client, what would I tell them to do? Show up every single day, deliver value, and you're paid on the value add to the marketplace and it will compound and pay off. So now to this day, it's 2 months later into the Masterverse and we're building, and the goal is to get it to 2,000 members this year by helping people, master their life. And still, we're still sitting at less than 100 members. By now, I thought we'd be at 500 plus, but I know I'm going to show up every single day. I'm going to make these things work, and I'm going to help a lot of people around Australia and the world through the Masterverse, and it's game on.
I 100% believe in exactly what you're doing, and I want to touch on like your mindset, because like the way your mind works and how driven you are, and like exactly what you just said, like you literally dropped an income which was obviously helping you, because at the end of the day you have a family, you got kids, you got a wife, you got a house, you got everything else that all these other people that are sitting there concerned about, like so you're doing something that is a massive risk to not only your relationship with your wife and your kids, but also to your own mental health. So I want to touch on your mindset and holding strong, and like what it is, like what tools are you using that other people could use to maybe even just get that first step? Like whether it be like the morning routine, I don't know if that helps your mindset, but if that makes sense.
Great question, man. So I'll touch on a few things around that. It's right now, it's like I have to make the Masterverse work or I lose everything. It's as simple as that. Like I have to make it work. There is no option. I'll share a story about that in a moment. But to answer your question there is like, thing is like I get so many people come up to me and they're like, I'm scared to take the risk of doing this. Like I'm nervous, like to take the risk of going all in on my business. And I'm like, cool. If you say that to me, I'm like, Jesse, good. You should be nervous, brother. You should be scared. You should be scared of taking a risk. But you know what? You should be more scared of not taking it, because the feeling you've got around it now, if you're not fulfilled right now, day to day, like you're going to feel that forever unless you take that leap of faith. And what I do, it's a bit of a sickening morning routine. It's not the average morning routine, but I went to UPW. It was the last UPW that Tony ran in person, and I live for Tony. If you follow me on social media, like all the quotes I do is like, my work's not unique. I'm literally regurgitating other people's work, but wording it in a way for the modern millennial or our next generation to understand. So Tony learned from Jim Rohn, and my goal is to like learn from that and implement it a way for you guys to implement, you know. And Tony took us through this meditation, and basically it was like a morning routine. And what you do is like basically you have to think about your dream day. And this went on for like 20 minutes. He's like, he shuts down all the lights in this stadium. There was about 15,000 people in the stadium, so the energy was electric. And all of a sudden it goes silent. And Tony's walking you through this meditation about your dream day for about 20 minutes. Then all of a sudden he flicks it, and then he goes, cool, I'm going to take you to your darkest place. And he starts basically getting you manifesting and thinking about your worst nightmare. And honestly, within about 2 minutes of him taking you to this dark place, the whole auditorium was like screaming, crying, and so was I. Because I visualized this thing. And if you can't half tell, like if you follow me on social media, like I'm a family man. Like I live for my family. The only people I hang out with is my son, my daughter, my fiance, and my brother and sister. Literally, that's all I hang out with.
So it looks like.
Yeah, I've got a very tight circle, and I protect that circle. Like I protect what goes into my mind and who I surround myself with. And this morning visualization that I do is like if I'm feeling down in the dumps, or like I feel like I don't have enough in the tank to make it work, or I still feel like I'm a failure sometimes, or I can't do this. Like I've still got self-doubt. Like I'm not just Mr. Positive on social media. It's like I have hard days too, but I don't have a hard day or a bad week. I have bad moments. I manage it in moments, and I give myself 90 seconds to get over it. Or you're just going to hold on to it and live with regret one day. But anyway, this moment that like ever since I saw Tony live, and this was 2018, it was his last UPW in Sydney. And I think about this all the time, and I get goosebumps thinking about it now. But what happens is like I'm raising my son Xander, and basically he's going through school and that sort of stuff, and he basically tells me about this invention he wants to create to save the world, like Elon Musk, how he wants to take people he believes he's here to save mankind and move us to Mars. And Xander's telling me about this invention he wants to create when he leaves school to save mankind. And I'm like, hell yeah, like go for it, Xander. Like I've got nothing against uni or college education or anything like that. But he told me he didn't want to go to uni. He said he wanted to do this invention and he was going to save the world. And what happens, he graduates school, and then all of a sudden there's this visualization. I see him walking into university. And I'm like, Xander, like, what are you doing? And I grab his hand. I'm like, Xander, what are you doing? And he looks back at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you said you wanted to do this invention and save the world, but you're walking into uni and you said you didn't want that. And he looks back at me and he goes, Dad, why would I follow my dreams when you didn't follow yours? And that gives me shivers. And that's enough for me to get up in the morning and go, cool, it's time to level up, because who knows, I could save a life today by helping them follow their dreams. I could help people kickstart their business or their dream to set them and their family up for life, you know? And if I'm not going to show up for myself, who else is going to show up for me, you know? And the thing is that where people get stuck is they think they need to find what makes them happy and light them up every single day. That's literally impossible, you know? Like, it's an absolute privilege to do what you do, like, do what you love every single day. But you're not going to love every single day. But I tell you what, it is your damn right obligation. Like, it is your role in life to get up and do something purposeful and meaningful to give back to the world somehow. And that's what I do, is like I don't have any like crazy morning routine. As I get up and I get to work. And if I'm feeling down in the dumps, I think about that.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Like, the only thing I do is have a cold shower. When I have the opportunity, I'm like, I'm just going to get in it. And I just do it purely out of the fact that I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I hate this, and I'm just going to do it anyway. And there's something I wanted to talk about on this podcast with you, because I think you might find this interesting. So back in 2019, I went through like this really hectic like mental health problem while I was traveling Australia in a van. Yeah. And it was to the point where I wasn't going to make it past probably like the end of that year. Like, it was pretty intense. And then this year, I'm going to be doing what's called an Everest on a push bike. So you ride up one hill continuously for the elevation of Mount Everest. So it's like 29,000 something feet.
Wow. And
you do it in one ride. So you can't like, you can stop, obviously eat, refuel and keep riding, but it ends up being like 150 laps or something. And the reason why I'm doing it is because, one, I hate hills. 2, I know it's going to build like my mental resilience. And 3, I just want to show other people that they can also do something.
100%.
Like, and I don't know. I was just want to tell you about it because I was like, I think this would be cool to like just chat about. Like,
That's
just
cool,
talk about
man.
mindset and like how
Big time.
you can just. I don't know what it is about the mindset though. I think a lot of people are scared of their own mind.
Yeah.
And then their mind will take over. And then once it takes over, it's so hard to bring it back and be in control.
Exactly, man. And that's why, like you've got to surround yourself with the right people, you know? Like, it comes down to what is your environment like, you know? Like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Because they are feeding that mind. And things like, what stops most people? People get a goal, right? And let's pretend that goal is a soccer goal. And they're dribbling the ball down the field, and all of a sudden, the goal is there. And they think the goal is all these people around them judging them or telling them they're not good enough from all the schooling and the programming they've had their whole life, or they're not good enough, they can't do this, they can't do that, and rich people are bad and money bad, all that sort of stuff. But that goalie they think is other people, but it's just their mind. It's them. And the only way you're going to go over that is by mastering your mind. And then you've got to understand, is I had a meeting this morning with a guy, and he goes, I can't do this because I'm not positive like you, or I can't. I'm like, no. I'm like, brother, like, I'm not like this all the time. Like, I have bad moments. Like, I have times where I self-doubt myself, you know? Like, when Masterverse just last month flopped, I was like, far out. Like, I have investors in that business. I'm like, far out. Like, am I going to fail at this? Like, I have those feelings as well. But things like, how quick can you catch yourself out? And the problem is most people default to things that make them comfortable or make them feel like they're a part of something, or that something that numbs them and helps them escape, which is usually drugs, alcohol, sex, hanging around with the wrong people. Like, they default to these things that numb the mind. And the problem is, people have got to understand is like, this life, this world around you is a direct reflection of what's going on inside your head. Your friendships, relationships, finances, everything is a reflection of this mindset. And you'll notice when you're having a downtime in your life, let's pretend there's a peak, and then you come down, there's the baseline, and then there's a trough. So you're constantly going above and below this baseline. You notice when you're at this baseline, you never really go much lower than a certain point. And you'll notice it'll be the same number in your bank account when you start stressing. Your room will be messy. Your car won't be clean. Your relationship's on the rocks. You're not doing your usual morning routine and stuff. And then you finally get stage, you find up to your peak, and then you get up to that point again where you've got a bigger amount in your bank account and life's going really well. And you notice everything's going well, but then you self-sabotage again. And it's an ever-ending cycle, and everybody does that. You've got to start learning where your baseline is and raise that standard. And the only way you're going to do that is becoming aware, owning your truth, and getting clear on where you are today, being vulnerable, owning everything that's going on in your life, because only then can you take that step forward. But it comes to working on yourself every single day. Like you jump in my car, the moment I turn it on, it's a university. Like, you will never hear me listening to music. Like, I listen to personal development 24/7. There was a stage in my life where when I got into network marketing, I was shit scared of personal speaking. Sorry to swear. I was so scared of personal speaking. You wouldn't know it now talking in front of the mastermind and stuff, but I was so scared of personal, like, public speaking. Like I can barely read. Okay, because I was so scared of reading. Because remember, I don't know whether you did it in your primary school, but like, the teacher would have a book and you'd have to read, like, it'd go around the room and one child would have to read a sentence, then the next bit, and you have to read it like. I remember this time I read out a sentence, I couldn't pronounce the words, and the whole classroom laughed at me. So from that point on, I was so scared to read and public speak. I only learnt to read when I started reading kids' books to my son Xander. That's the only time I started learning how to read. So I listened to everything, to the stage where I was so obsessed with improving myself for 3 or 4 years straight. I used to have my headphones plugged in every single night while I slept, listening to personal development every night. And I listened to everything in my sleep. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed that I remember it was like a few years ago, I watched Vikings. Like, I don't watch TV.
Oh, yeah, the TV series.
Yeah, I watched Vikings.
Yeah.
And there was probably a couple of weeks straight where I watched it every night. And I'd go to sleep and I thought I was Ragnar. Like, I was having dreams. And I was like, far out. It's so crazy what implements your mind. And I don't want to go to sleep thinking about that. And it just goes to show, I'm sure people can relate, like, whatever you've been doing for the day over and over, you start thinking about that stuff or thinking about work while you're sleeping, you start having dreams. Instead, I was like, cool, I'm going to feed my mind with the right things so I dream about it, and I'm learning while I sleep. And what's funny is, even to this day, I'll say things on a podcast or at an event, and I'll say something, it'll come out, and I'm like, wow, like where did that even come from? Like I didn't even know that. And it's just because I've been programming my mind for so long subconsciously. It's the same thing when you drive now. Is that you don't even think about driving because you've done it so many times.
It's so crazy. That is I talk about this in every podcast I do because same thing as you. It's like manifestation, and like everyone talks about manifestation in the immediate. So what I mean by that is, let's say this podcast, I'm manifesting where I want it to be.
Yeah.
But subconsciously, the manifestation is what you like, that subconscious manifestation that you don't understand or you can't remember.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's maybe a bit more powerful because it's like without you, like everyone dreams and everyone has thoughts every day. Everyone has images in their mind of what they want to be and who they want to be. But they're only temporary because they're only there because you're thinking about them. But all the things that you've done throughout life, all those little manifestations that you've all thought about have now started to come to fruition and are now the building blocks for you to like move forward.
Yeah.
So like this podcast, I've done lots of other creative stuff and subconsciously now all of that is starting to come out. And I'm like you were saying, like you catch yourself saying stuff or you catch yourself doing things.
Yeah.
Like, man, I didn't even know that I could, I forgot all about that type of stuff.
100%.
So it's just crazy. And I just want to give you say thank you for helping me get this started and just giving me the kick in the ass. Cause I'm very similar. Like I work really hard, but I found that I was getting very distracted.
Yep.
Just through other life, whatever. And as soon as I remember the first day I came there, I started writing it down and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But then because of like the accountability side of it, which I think is like so important. I didn't realize how important it was.
Yeah.
So you're writing it down. And then I was like, I remember it would come up to the next Tuesday and I was like, nah, I'm not going to turn up and look like a dickhead in front of everyone. So I was like, I'm going to make sure. So then I was overachieving because I was doing way more than 100%. What I wanted to. And now like I'm 8 episodes in, and everything's going so well, and I've just been manifesting, and every time I think about it, I always reflect back to that day that I went to the mastermind. I was like, or every time I feel like I'm stepping back, I'm like, no. But my mind is more structured, if that makes sense. Like everything, like for example, something bad, like if it's a bad week and I've not put enough effort into the podcast, I don't beat myself up anymore. Yeah. I use it as a lesson. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. You're allowed to have that, but you just need to make up for it this way or do that.
Big time.
And I think that's something that people lose. Like they just beat themselves up and then they get scared and they stop. Yeah. But if you stop, it gets worse. Like that negative feeling that you're feeling then is going to get amplified because then you're going to be 3 months down the track and then you're going to be in this dirty routine that you just don't want to be in. And it's way harder to get yourself back out.
100%. And that's what a lot of people get stuck, man, is because they don't have a mentor or they don't have somebody to hold them accountable because you only perform to the standard you're held accountable to. You know, it's that same thing as that if you wake up and you go into the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning, if you've got a gym buddy, you're generally not going to wake up and like cancel on them. Like you're like, even if you don't want to go to the gym, you'll go there just so you don't let them down. Like as human beings, we naturally want to do more for others than ourselves. And that's why it's so important in business. Like it's every single successful person I've researched has had a mentor, you know? And the biggest thing most people are avoiding getting in the business, they're trying to work it out themselves, and they fail over and over and over when they can learn from somebody else and cut their learning curve in half, you know? So
how do you find a mentor? This is what I've been trying to figure out because for a podcast, I don't really know many mentors getting around that are running podcasts. So for you, maybe for you it might be different because it's in business and I'm sure. But even then, like how did you find your
podcast
mentor?
is a business. Like life is a business, man. You're selling yourself every single day.
Yeah, I just meant more as in like how did you find your mentor?
So same thing, it was just talking to people. Like it's another reason why I started the Masterverse is like you can learn like anything I'm teaching on the Masterverse or anything you want to learn about a podcast or anything. Like if you want to learn anything in life, you don't have to go to uni. You can learn it all on YouTube. Like you've got the world in your hand in this piece of glass.
It's so crazy.
You know, it's mental. But the thing is like we're so overwhelmed with information, and the thing is like the mind will naturally go like, oh, like who do I go to for a mentor? Like I don't know. The moment you say I don't know, your mind just switches off. But the moment you start changing your language and go, great, if I needed to find a mentor today for a podcast, how would I do it? And the mind will find a way. You'll message me. You'll sign up to something like a Mastermind or or the Masterverse and that sort of thing and go, great. Hey guys, I've launched a podcast. Look, does anybody have any advice? And someone's going to jump on there and go, yeah, man, talk to this guy or talk to this person. And you've just got to get out there and make it happen. You know, it's like so many people like get stuck on like making a logo and getting their website ready. It's like, cool. It's like, just get out there and actually see if the marketplace values what you've got as well to start with, you know?
Yeah, just put content out. That's what I did. I just put content out. I was lucky enough I had a logo from a previous podcast, that idea I was working on. So I just put that out. And I literally just started putting content out. I didn't even care. I've done no marketing at all. Like I just soft launched it, just putting content out and learning on the go. Yeah. And I've also created a Discord.
Yeah, cool.
This whole thing is like getting people in there. So if someone needs something, they can be like, hey, I'm looking for this.
100%.
Like, bang, just go there, do that. Yeah. Similar, maybe a very much smaller version. To
but it's the same thing. It's an accountability group. It's forming an inner circle, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's things that people don't like, they really take that sort of stuff for granted. It's like so many people are hanging around with people that just bring them down, you know? Like, and I never noticed my circle was bringing me down until I started hanging around people that were playing at another level, you know? And after doing that for a few years, I remember going back and hanging out with some old friends. And I remember walking away from like the first barbecue, catching up with old mates, going like, far out. Like, I feel like I've just fried my brain. They're just talking about their missus, their boss, the government, or looking forward to the next weekend. I was just like, it was so draining.
Isn't it?
The thing is, like, you've got to get around, like, as bad as this sounds, it's like, you've got to get around the right people. And it means you've got to let go. Like, what people don't understand, and I've got a post going up on my Instagram tonight, and the heading is just success equals sacrifice. And people don't get it. Like people are like, is like, no, I don't need to sacrifice to get certain things. Like you do. People think like, yeah, but I heard on this thing is that you can have anything you want. Yeah, well, look, you can, but not all at once. You know, like I don't really have a social life. Like I spend every waking minute with my family or my business going all in. And that's a sacrifice. People aren't willing to sacrifice losing friends or letting people go or saying no to the pub or a barbecue or an event. And the thing is that it may not seem like much now, but one day that will come at a cost. And one day you'll run into that person that did commit and did sacrifice a few years down the track, and you're going to see now they're living their dream. Because if you don't sacrifice now for your dreams and goals will eventually become the sacrifice.
100%.
It just will.
It does, and that's exactly what you're talking. Like even something funny like what you were just describing is being around old friends and having it is so draining, and it's I 100% believe that you're a product of your environment.
Yeah.
So if you just set yourself with these people, of course you're gonna just want to do that and just forget about your goals. But at the end of the day, when you get to your deathbed, or you get a family and stuff like that, you're 100% going to look back on those 10 years you've just wasted.
100%.
And just going, oh man, I wish I just started.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the end goal. The end goal is the nicety, but what it's about is like the journey and like and the enjoyment of actually doing the thing that you love.
Yeah.
And then the rest comes.
Yeah, 100%.
Like this makes no money.
Yeah.
I just do it because I genuinely love talking to people and I get so excited.
Yeah.
And if it did make money, then I'd be stoked on that.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because the biggest sign you're on the right track is when you go back to that circle of friends and they go, you've changed. Like, what are you doing? It's like they've brainwashed you 100%. Like you've been brainwashed your whole life to think to be average, to think to fit in. And the thing is like, I don't work on myself every single day to stay the same. I work on myself to change and to evolve. But the thing is that most people that like aren't working on themselves, which is like, it's 99% of society, you know, they don't understand what it takes to create a life you truly desire. And the thing is, everybody's been put here for a reason. I don't believe people are here to just raise a family, pay bills and die. They're here for a purpose. And you've been having hints and clues your whole life and being drawn to it, but then you get pulled back into the system. And the thing is that if you don't start letting some things go, like certain friends, they will hold you back. And people will say, like, oh yeah, but I'm nothing like them, you know? It's like the average of 5 is a law, you know? You are the average of 5 you hang out with. And the reason for that is that your brain is programmed to want to fit in and it fears rejection. So your mind, without you even knowing, hanging out with certain people will naturally do things to fit in and be like them because it fears rejection. And that's why it's so toxic being around the wrong people, especially if you're on a path to take your life to the next level. It's like, it's not going to happen. You're kidding yourself unless you change the people you surround yourself with. It's as simple as that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on maybe like success, because it might seem to other people listening that we've just been talking about like business, millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. But I know from the mastermind, when you were speaking about it, it wasn't just about that. And it's can you maybe like touch on success in like a personal way? So like if someone has to drop friends because, I don't know, maybe they wanted to go to the gym and something successful like that, can you explain success a little bit? Just because I don't know, I wouldn't be able to explain
I guess success, happiness, fulfillment, those three main terms or purpose, like everybody has their own definition. And to be honest, like my original definition of success was the Ferrari, the mansion, and all that sort of stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still want to buy my Ferrari.
I'm still getting
But it's things like, I'm not focused on that. I'm understanding is like, I will only ever reach my pinnacle or whatever that thing is of success by helping other people. And the only way I'm going to be able to help more people is by being my best version. So success is different for everybody. But for me, success is waking up doing what I want, when I want, with who I want, whenever I want. And for me, that's freedom. Success is freedom. Because the thing is that people go on like, I have like haters every day, you know, messaging me going, oh, you brag about this and that sort of thing.
Sorry, I just want to stop. That comment about when you put that post up about that guy talking about your shitbox nav. Oh, that I've pissed myself laughing so much. You're like, I kind of like my shitbox nav.
Yeah. Man, is that like, I get 10 plus messages like that a day, you know. But the thing is that you can let that stuff bring you down. Don't get me wrong, like it's still, that sort of stuff plays in my mind for sure. Like it hurts. But the thing is, man, it's like success is different for everybody. And at the end of the day, it's nothing great is going to come from your life if you try and please everybody. And the same thing is like, if you've got haters, like good, because it means you're not just doing stuff to keep people happy. You've got to show up and be your best self. You know, you've got to show up every single day. And the thing is, it's like, success has changed for me. It's like, for me, it's the life I've got now. It's like the life I look at now is I call it a successful life because I can be with my kids 24/7. Like I wake up, like if I don't want to, I don't have to wake up to an alarm. I can wake up and like, for example, every single morning, because I share Xander 50-50 with him and his mum, like every morning I've got him. We wake up and we go to the coffee shop together, just me and him, and we hang out.
That's the best.
You know? And then I get into work. But it's just like, it's like, same thing as like people like get so misconceived with balance. I don't believe in balance, okay? Like people have got this definition of like, live a balanced life. Remember I said, if you want, success doesn't mean money. You know, success is a feeling, and it's not an end goal. You've got to understand when you achieve a goal, you've got another one. So that's why it's so important to fall in love with the journey, not the goal. The goal is what keeps you driven. You need an emotional connection to that. But you've got to fall in love with the journey because the goal is a macro thing. It's the war. And the thing is like, you don't need to win every battle to win the war. Your day-to-day challenges, they're going to be there forever. There's going to be things that you don't like doing day to day to win that war, to achieve that goal, so to say. So you've got to fall in love with the journey. And same thing is like, success could be like, I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day, and he just says some phenomenal things. And he was saying success could be as little as you waking up and making your bed. Because you could be in the darkest place of your life right now, and success could be setting a goal of just looking up, bringing your chin up and making your bed. And then the next day, make your bed and then do something else and build on that. Like it's different for everybody. And it's not just monetary, but the thing is that the benefit of having money is a tool. But as I said, is I abused the tool in the past. But like anything is that if you have a relationship and you abuse that relationship or you don't treat it with respect and you don't show up to it every single day, that person will leave you, right? They're not going to hang around in their right mind. Same thing with money. If you don't treat money right, if you don't respect it, if you don't use it the right way, you're never going to have it. You'll always just get by. So for me, it's like success is different for everybody. It might be you not snoozing the alarm tomorrow. It might be you reaching out and telling somebody you love them. It might be you just paying it forward somehow. It's different for everybody. And that's what you've got to find. And that's what I think is like the meaning of life. It's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, we've got to like, I interviewed a gentleman the other day in the Masterverse, and he said, we've got these 5 senses for a reason. Like, we're here to experience. And I think that's what it is. I believe we're here to serve one another somehow. And that is success in itself, and it's different for everybody. But the thing is that if you wake up and you look at Instagram every single day and you're comparing yourself to other people, like, you're going to find it so hard because you're giving your power away. And it's like they say, is that the comparison is the thief of joy. And if you continue to do that every single day, it's like you're going to have a hard road. But if you just show up every single day and put your best foot forward, you'll find a way. You'll work it out.
Yeah. Oh, so many good words, Kane. So many good advice. Creative. Bloody hell. All right, let's touch on the Masterverse. What's going on inside it? How it all works. I mean, I think everyone should have got enough value now out of pretty much a nice 40-minute mentor talk, which is so valuable. Like, I think I was so excited for it, but we should just touch on the Masterverse. So then if people did want to jump on in or wanted to level up or whatever trigger word that's going to get you motivated and moved on. We don't really say the motivated word around here because it's temporary. We like drive and inspiration. They're the 2 main ones. But can you just blow it up? Tell us what it's about. Tell us how you created it.
So basically, it's like the slogan for it is it's your one-stop educational networking platform to help you level up all areas of your life. And specifically, our main niche is people that want to work on their mindset, but particularly people that want to start a business or they've started a business and it's just not where they want it to be right now. So basically, it's like if you commit to the Masterverse, like, for example, I've just finished building what's called the business incubator in it. And basically, you can come in with zero clue of what you want to do. But I think everybody at a stage in their life, they wake up some mornings and go, you know what? I don't want to do what I'm about to do. But they never really get the courage or know how to even look into that. So basically, it's like I've developed a thing called the business incubator. And it basically helps you take your idea from your head to creating it, turning it into a business. And I've used this for my businesses. Like, I've used this for over a dozen friends have tested and tried this, and I've helped them quit their full-time job within 6 to 8 weeks using this system.
That's crazy.
And there's no trick to it because the thing is, people come into the Masterverse or any sort of mentoring program, because I've done mentoring outside of this. And the thing is, they expect to come to these masterminds and into the Masterverse and that sort of thing and try to, like, they expect to find the key to success. But the thing is that, think about it. If you want to get fit, you need to do 4 things. You need to get sleep, drink water, eat clean, and exercise. There's no trick. But why doesn't everybody get fit? It's because they're not disciplined or focused enough. And it's the same thing in business. They're just not disciplined or focused enough. So the first thing you do when you come into the Masterverse, by now, I think there's like 25 modules in it now. And you can come in and sort of skip through the modules and that sort of thing, but like there's 40 hours of content in there so far. And you can skip through the modules and stuff, but if you do it properly and you start at module 1, it's literally sit down and write your goals like you do on the normal Then you go into the worksheet and you reverse engineer them over the 12 months. And then you learn how to become accountable. You learn how to actually get motivation, which doesn't exist, but intrinsically inspired from your morning. And you go through the basic steps, and people are expecting to find the secret to success, but it's no. I'm teaching you how to be disciplined. I'm teaching you how to get your thoughts out of your head and how to show up every single day. And then how to actually get that thought, build it into a niche. And I do this thing because I'll touch on this really quickly. I go to this coffee shop every single morning, and I love it. And there's this guy that the first time I went there, he just speaks so well, And I was like, wow. Like, I said to him, brother, I'm like, have you been a barista your whole life? There's nothing wrong with baristas, by the way. But he's like, have you been a barista your whole life? He goes, I've got a double degree in marketing and something else in business. I'm like, why aren't you doing it? He goes, brother, I've applied for over 100 jobs and every single one of them have said, you're overqualified. We want people with experience. And most companies today in this world, they don't hire people with a certificate. They hire people on attitude and experience because same things, like, as Gary Vee says, it's like, you can't read how to do a push-up. You've got to do it. I don't have any degree, And it's the things that the problem is that when people go and do this traditional education, they follow the traditional path. And so many times they've done it for the wrong reasons because they usually like, I want to make my parents proud, or it's the right thing to do. It's something to fall back on, this sort of thing. And then they get this certificate, and it's like a badge of honor. And they expect to be paid or treated a certain way because of this certificate, because they've learned, remembered, and regurgitated information for 4 years, but they haven't applied anything, you know? And the problem with that traditional education is like, people are waking up every single day. It's like, you've got these, like, the guy I'm interviewing on Thursday, he's a 20-year-old multi-millionaire.
That's crazy.
And it's like, because they've just got out and they've just done it. Like you're going to make this podcast successful because you're just doing it. People don't know what to do. Nobody does. You've just got to rock up and do the best thing that you know and learn discipline. Along that way, you will learn how to improve it. So the thing is, coming into the Masterverse is, where I was going with that is like, it doesn't matter about qualifications. If you've got qualifications, I believe you've almost got a disadvantage because you're blinded. You believe you're worth something because you've got this. You've got to go out and you've got to get your hands dirty. And that's the scariest thing to do. And so what is, like, the problem is in today's world is they do what's called the skills forward approach. So you go to school, you go to uni, get all of these skills, and then you go to the marketplace. The thing is that you are paid on the value that you bring to the marketplace. The problem is you go out with a lot of these qualifications is the marketplace doesn't necessarily need them. So what I teach people is the market backwards approach. So you go to the market and you find out the problems in the market. Then you go get the skills to fix those problems, and then you take those skills back to the market and you charge them for it. Business is just solving problems. People don't pay you to be an expert. They don't pay you to be smart. They pay you for a result. And the biggest thing you're going to get out of the Masterverse, you're going to realize that, like, your biggest advantage is by not being an expert and not having a degree. Because I'm going to show you how you can find out what the marketplace actually needs, something in a niche that you love, so you can learn the skills on YouTube and go back and sell it to them. You've only got to be a chapter ahead. And you've just got to get them a result. But people are so stuck in their tracks because I'm not old enough, I don't have enough experience, I'm not an expert. No. People aren't paying you to be an expert or to be smart. They're paying you to get a result. Business is just the game of finding problems and solving them. And you'll be paid for the size of the problem and by the amount of people that you help. And that's what we do in the Masterverse.
And is it only for business, or is it for people like self-development? Because, like, just as you were touching on then, let's go both ends of the spectrum, like someone who's like 17, 18, kind of just getting their foot in the door, or someone who's sitting at home, got a family, like not really happy with where they're at, but they're nervous because they got a family and kids and they want to provide. So is it for both?
Yes. It's for anybody to master their psychology, their emotions, so that you can show up and be the best father or the best partner. Because as I mentioned, is like, life is business. You know, life is a game. It's Monopoly. Okay? And you're only going to get better at it at the rate that you get better. You're only going to get better results at the rate that you grow. So the same thing is, you can only improve your relationship if you improve yourself. It's not your partner's fault that you guys are failing. It's your fault. It's not it's not your child's fault that they're having a tantrum. It's them trying to speak a language they don't understand yet, and you not understanding. It's like, anybody that needs to level up any area of their life, they need to do this. And if they don't, they're going to repeat the next 12 months. So many people wake up at the end of the month or waiting for Monday or waiting for the brand new year, brand new me. It's like, no. It ain't a brand new year. It's just another day.
That is the best. I remember when you said that when I went there last year, and I 100% agree, because there's so many years you wake up and, like, everyone goes out and blows their brain apart by getting loose and having fun with their friends and like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. I'm like, you're not gonna do this. You're not gonna do that, because you're gonna do it for 2 weeks. You're gonna lose that motivation, and then look, bang, you're back at square one. What I do is what I was doing before I came to see you, is that I wait for the year to pass. Like, I wait for the first 2 weeks. Yeah. Because everyone's like, oh, we're doing this. And I'm like, yeah. But I never do anything after the first 2 weeks. Yeah. I just let it be, and then I get really, like, intrinsically motivated and angry at myself for not doing anything for 2 weeks. Yeah. And then I'm like, right, we're going.
Game on.
So that's what I did with it. Because even, when you did that 14
day level up.
Yeah. So I was feeling a bit a bit sad about myself because I'd kind of had Christmas and I was like, oh, everyone's like, it's okay to relax. And I'm like, I don't want to relax. I was on such a good wicket. I was doing so well. Like everything was moving. The ball was rolling. Yeah. And now there's nothing. And I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm even achieving anything. Like I'm not working towards anything at all.
Yeah.
And then when I saw your 14-day level, I was like, that's it. I was telling all my friends, I was like, jump on this, do this.
Yeah.
And then from there, just kick-started. Now we're back on. Now we're moving again. But that story of like, the year's gonna roll over and then all of a sudden this big epiphany is gonna happen and you're gonna be this new and improved. It's like, that ain't it. Like your mindset doesn't just change. Like you can't, if you weren't doing it before, you ain't going to be doing it then either. You got to start small. Like do the small things. Like for me, I make my bed every morning. Yeah. Without fail. From the Jordan Peterson thing. Yeah. I was like, I just started making it. I was like, I don't even care. Cold shower, just do it. I don't like it, but I just do it anyway. Yeah. But it's those, I think people skip those steps and they forget that that's what's actually important. Yeah. Like it's mad to have.
You've got to master the basics, man.
Yeah. And exactly. The basics.
Yeah. Be a student of life. You've just got to continuously learn, and so many people come up with these excuses of like, I don't have enough time and that sort of stuff. The fact is like, the real fact is you just haven't made it a priority, and it's the same thing when people get money objections. Like if people don't want to buy your product or they cancel, for example, when someone cancels their Masterverse subscription, it just means they haven't added enough value. Because same things like, just if you're running low on money, doesn't mean you stop paying your rent. You'll pay your rent because it's important to you because it's the house over your roof. You value it. Same things, people aren't paying for your services. They just don't value it enough. So you've just got to add more value. And it's the only way you're going to do that is by showing up and just having a crack. And you'll learn from it. You pick yourself up and just keep going.
100%. All right, there's one thing there's two things we like to do. The first one is we like to shout out a local legend who you think should come on the show, who you think would provide good information and value for my listeners and everyone else and myself, because that's what I love to do. Yeah. So this is your opportunity, and then we'll get to the next one after that.
Yeah, I'll shout out my fiance, Simone Sullivan, because she inspires me every day and she's a rock star.
You're coming on, Simone. I'm deadpan on the camera. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. All right, and the second thing I like to do is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone listening, to your future self, to your children, to anyone who you think would listen to this and then find value out of it?
Oh, could have prepped me for this one. Man, it's the main thing I'd say is you're never going to know exactly what to do. And there's no such thing as a good or right decision. You've just got to make the decision right, And the only way you're going to do that is by just working out just something you want to focus on and just take action on it. Make a plan. Be disciplined, show up each day. And the best part about that is by showing up each day, you'll become wiser. You become more disciplined. You'll get some sort of result and your plan will improve. Your goal will improve. And you'll start naturally getting around and finding the right people by changing the questions that you ask. So I just be okay with not knowing exactly what to do and just make your decision right by just getting in and going for it.
Wow. There we go. Man, this has been an amazing, amazing episode. I've been so stoked to have you on. I've been waiting for this for a long time. We had a bit of a mishap for last week. But thank you so much for coming on. If anyone's found any value or any value in this.
They know what you mean.
Yeah, they know what I'm talking about. Please go over and support. Jump on the Masterverse. It's literally a monthly subscription. You're going to spend $200 going to CrossFit and you're going to spend way less and you're going to get way more benefit out of it. Thank you so much, Dion, for coming on. We out. This has been another creative episode. Woo woo! See ya.